I never planned to find out the truth that night. It was supposed to be just another sleepless evening, the kind where silence presses too hard against your chest and you wander the house to breathe. I thought I was looking for comfort. Instead, I found a key, a small, rusted key hidden inside one of my father's old books. I didn't know what it belonged to, but something in me, something restless, pushed me toward Adrian's room. The lock on his bottom drawer had always been there, and he always brushed it off, saying it was for important papers. But when I slipped that key inside, it clicked too easily. The drawer slid open, and my world fell apart. Inside were old letters, photographs, legal papers. At first, it didn't make sense. But as I read, pieces began to align in a shape I wished I could unsee. A woman everyone said had died years ago alive, writing letters to him. Property transfers that didn't have our family's name, but his initials. My father's diary, entries smudged but clear enough. The secret must remain hidden, or the family will collapse. And suddenly, I realized Adrian wasn't who I thought he was. I shoved everything back, but my hands shook. I felt dirty just touching the papers. The house was too quiet, the air too heavy. And then, footsteps. Adrian came home, humming softly, unaware. I locked the drawer, ran to my room, and lay in bed pretending to sleep. My heart hammered so violently I thought it would burst. The next morning he was cheerful. Too cheerful. He asked if I'd slept well, poured me coffee like nothing had changed. But I saw it now, the way his smile never reached his eyes, the calculation behind his gaze. I wondered if he already knew what I had done. I kept silent, but inside me something dark grew. I started watching him, following him with my eyes when he left the room, listening to his phone calls through the thin walls. That's when I noticed the patterns. He left the house at odd hours, always returning tense. One night, I followed. I drove behind him, lights dimmed. The road stretched further than we'd ever gone, to the edge of town, where houses grew fewer and silence louder. He stopped at a decrepit house, abandoned from the outside. I crouched in the car, watching through the cracked blinds. And then I saw him wrap his arms around someone, a woman. Not just anyone, her the woman from the letters. The woman who wasn't supposed to exist anymore. The woman my father had sworn was gone. I froze, every nerve screaming. She wasn't dead. She was alive, and Adrian had been keeping her a secret. I wanted to scream at him, but instead I drove away, shaking so hard I could barely grip the wheel. My entire life suddenly felt like a performance, staged by people who had smiled in my face while stabbing me behind my back. From then on, every moment with him felt poisoned. Every word he spoke was coded in lies. At breakfast, his small talk made my stomach churn. When he asked about my plans, I heard threats beneath the casual tone. When his hand brushed mine as he passed the dishes, it felt like a warning. I couldn't keep it in. I confronted him on a night when the rain pounded against the windows like fists. My voice trembled, but I didn't care. I know, Adrian. I know you've been hiding her. I know you've been lying to me all these years. His face didn't break into confusion or denial. No, his eyes darkened, and he whispered, "You shouldn't have gone through that drawer." The words sank into me like ice. That was his first instinct, not denial, not surprise, but acknowledgement. He knew, and he knew I knew. From that moment, the house became a battlefield. He didn't shout, didn't threaten outright. Instead, he watched me. Every move, every step. His gaze lingered too long, his silence too heavy. He'd stand in my doorway at night under the pretense of checking in. But I could feel it, he was measuring me, wondering when I'd break. I started digging deeper, secretly. The diary, the letters, even old boxes in the attic. I pieced together the fragments. Our father had another family, a hidden one. That woman was part of it. And Adrian wasn't just a brother, he was part of that lie. He wasn't the golden child. He was the secret child. The one hidden, protected, disguised. But here's the thing about secrets. Once they start unraveling, you can't control how far the thread will go. One night, I heard voices downstairs. I crept down and froze. Adrian wasn't alone. He was talking to our mother. And what I heard made my blood run cold. "She's starting to figure it out," he said. "Then you know what must be done," she replied. Her voice, my mother's voice, calm, deliberate, like this was nothing new. I staggered back up the stairs, heart slamming against my ribs. My own mother, she was part of it too. From then on, I knew I wasn't just fighting Adrian. I was fighting them all. The house turned into a prison. Every shadow felt like a trap. Every knock on my door like a warning. Adrian started leaving little hints, subtle but clear. My favorite book moved from its shelf. My phone, mysteriously drained of battery. A note on my desk, "Stop digging." And the more I uncovered, the clearer it became. I was never meant to know the truth. The family I thought I belonged to wasn't real. The bond I thought I shared with my brother was a mask. And the love I thought my parents had for me was just another performance. The worst part? I didn't know how deep it went. Late one night, I opened another envelope from the drawer. This one was different. My name on a certificate, except it wasn't my name, not the one I'd lived with. Another name entirely. I wasn't just betrayed. I wasn't who I thought I was. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. The whispers, the silences. The way my mother sometimes looked at me like she was staring at a stranger. It all made sense now. I wasn't their child. I was the secret. The realization broke something inside me. I confronted Adrian again, this time screaming, shoving the papers into his chest. "Tell me the truth," I shouted. "Who am I? What have you all done?" He looked at me with pity. Not anger, not rage, pity. "You were never supposed to find out," he said softly. "You were safe for not knowing." Safe from what? Or from asterisk who asterisk? Before I could press him, the door creaked open. Our mother stood there, her eyes cold and calculating. "Enough," she said. "It's time you understand everything. And that's where I'll leave you tonight." Because what she revealed next wasn't just betrayal, it was the kind of truth that rewrites everything you think you know about your life. If you want me to continue this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because trust me, the darkest part is still hidden. Her voice was sharper than the thunder outside. Calm but slicing straight through the air. My mother, no, the woman I had called my mother, stood there in the doorway. Her hands folded like this was a conversation she had been rehearsing for years. Adrian didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stepped aside and let her in, as if he'd been waiting for her to take control. I gripped the papers tighter, the certificate with the wrong name burning in my hand. "Tell me," I whispered, my throat dry. "Because I don't know who I am anymore." She walked closer, her eyes fixed on mine. "You were never supposed to know this," she said. "Your father made sure of it. But since you've already seen too much, I'll tell you what he didn't have the courage to." I wanted to run. My legs ached to sprint out of that house. But my body was frozen. I could only listen. "You are not my child," she said. "Not by blood. You were never meant to belong to this family. You were insurance. A reminder to your father of his sins." Her words twisted in my chest like knives. I shook my head. "Insurance? What does that even mean?" Adrian finally spoke, his voice heavy. "It means he brought you here after she left. After the woman you saw in that house disappeared from our lives. You're her child, not ours." The walls closed in on me. My entire existence felt like a cruel joke. I was her child, the woman I had seen alive, the one they'd sworn was dead, the woman Adrian had been protecting all along. I dropped the papers. My hands felt empty. So, all of this, I whispered, the lies, the secrets. It was all because of me? No, my mother said sharply. It was because of him. She pointed at Adrian. He could never accept what your father did. He could never let the past stay buried. Adrian's jaw clenched. Don't twist this, he snapped. You and father kept her locked away, erased from our lives. You pretended she didn't exist. Pretended they didn't exist. I interrupted, my voice cracking. What do you mean, they? Adrian turned to me, his eyes softer now, almost pleading. You weren't the only one. She had another child, a brother, somewhere out there. He's alive. The room spun. Another sibling? Another hidden life? My stomach churned as the ground beneath me shattered yet again. My mother's face hardened. That boy is gone. He doesn't matter. You both don't understand what keeping this family together cost me. If the truth came out, everything would have collapsed. Everything already has, I whispered. The days after that conversation blurred into shadows. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My body moved, but my mind was drowning. I'd sit in my room, staring at the papers, the diary, the photographs. Adrian would hover outside my door, sometimes knocking, sometimes silent. My mother carried on like nothing had changed, cooking, cleaning, humming under her breath, but her eyes were always sharp, always watching. I didn't trust either of them. Not anymore. So I did the only thing left. I searched for her, the woman in the abandoned house. My real mother. I drove back to that place, my heart racing with every mile. The house looked deserted, but I knew better now. I pushed the door open. Dust filled the air, but there were signs of life. Blankets folded neatly, dishes stacked, a lamp still warm. And then I heard it, a soft voice from upstairs. When I found her, she was sitting by the window, staring out into the night. Her hair was streaked with gray, her face lined with years of silence. But when her eyes met mine, I knew instantly. Blood recognizes blood. You came, she whispered. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, trembling. Finally, I managed. Why didn't you ever come for me? Tears welled in her eyes. Because they wouldn't let me. They told me you were better off without me. That you would be safe if I stayed away. Safe, that word again. Safe from what? From them, from her? From the truth? I sat with her for hours, listening. She told me about her love with my father. How it was forbidden. How she was cast aside when he chose the other woman, my so-called mother. She told me about my brother, the one who disappeared. She told me about the threats, the warnings, the day they took me from her arms. I should have felt anger. I should have hated her for letting it happen. But instead, I felt something else, relief. Because for the first time, I knew who I was. But relief doesn't last. Not in stories like mine. When I left that night, headlights flashed behind me. A car followed me all the way home. I didn't have to guess who it was. Adrian. He confronted me in the driveway, his face pale with fury. You shouldn't have gone to her, he hissed. You don't know what you've started. She's my mother. I shot back. I had every right to see her, to know myself. His eyes burned. Do you understand what you've done? They'll come for us now, all of us. That's why father kept this buried. That's why mother lied. You think it's just about family, but it's bigger than that. What are you talking about? I demanded. He didn't answer. He just stepped closer, his breath hot against my ear. If you value your life, stop digging. And then he walked away, leaving me shaking in the cold night. But I couldn't stop. I was too far in. I dug deeper into the diary, into the documents Adrian had hidden. That's when I found it, the name. My brother's name. and an address. A trail my father had tried to erase. I didn't tell Adrian. I didn't tell my mother. I packed a bag and left before dawn. The road stretched endlessly, and my mind spun with possibilities. Who was he? Did he know about me? Did he even know he was part of this cursed family? When I reached the town, I followed the address to a crumbling apartment building. My heart pounded as I climbed the stairs. I knocked on the door. It opened slowly, and standing there, staring back at me, was a man with my father's eyes. I can't tell you what happened next. Not yet. Because the truth I found in that room wasn't just shocking, it was dangerous. And it changed everything I thought I knew about betrayal. If you want me to continue this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Because the real danger isn't in the lies we're told, it's in the truths we're not ready to face. He stood there in the doorway, taller than I expected, his hair dark and unkempt. His eyes, my father's eyes, burning with a quiet fury I couldn't place. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched so long it became suffocating. "You're late," he finally said, his voice low, almost bitter. "Late?" My heart stuttered. You know who I am." A faint, humorless smile tugged at his lips. "Of course I do. They told me about you years ago, the one they chose to keep." His words sliced deeper than any knife. I staggered back, shaking my head. "That's not true. I didn't even know you existed until now." "Doesn't matter," he said flatly. "While you lived in that house, eating at their table, calling them your family, I was rotting here, forgotten, erased. And now you show up, acting like you want answers? No, you don't get to want anything." His anger hit me like a storm. I raised my hands. "I didn't choose this. I didn't ask to be taken. I didn't ask for their lies." He stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "But you benefited from them. You had a life. I had nothing. You think you're a victim? You're part of their betrayal." The room spun. This wasn't the reunion I had imagined. This wasn't family, it was war. "I just want the truth," I whispered. "The truth," he laughed, cold and sharp. "The truth is our father ruined everything. He lied to her, lied to us, and when it all fell apart, he picked you. You were his favorite sin." My chest tightened. I wanted to argue, but part of me knew he wasn't wrong. My very existence was built on deception. Then he leaned in, his voice dropping. "But there's something you don't know. Something Adrian doesn't even know. Our father didn't just have two families. He had three." The air froze around me. "What?" He nodded, his eyes blazing. "There's another sibling, hidden even deeper, and unlike us. That one knows everything." I staggered back, my knees buckling. Another sibling? Another secret? How many lives had my father twisted into his web of lies? I didn't get time to ask more. The window shattered, glass exploding across the room. A brick crashed to the floor with a note tied to it. He snatched it up, read it, and his face drained of color. "They know you're here," he whispered. "You brought them straight to me." Panic clawed at my throat. "Who, Adrian, mother?" "No," he said, his voice shaking for the first time. "The ones who've been controlling all of this since the beginning." Before I could ask, heavy footsteps thundered up the stairwell. Shouts filled the hallway. My brother grabbed my arm. "Run if you want to live." And that's where my story stops for now. Because what came crashing through that door wasn't just danger. It was the truth. The truth about my father. The truth about us. And the truth about the betrayal that runs deeper than blood. If you want me to continue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next part will reveal the secret none of us were ever meant to survive.